What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today's topic, of course, is going to be about overload progression with GOATA. This is a question I get asked a lot, so I had to make a video about it. People always ask me, how can I progress the exercises within GOATA, especially with weights? If you guys see the things I post and talk about, I use weights a lot in my workouts. We don't lift weights though, right? We move weight. And so, real quick, before we get into, there's a lot of ways to actually work with this. We have to tackle a misconception of what overload progression is. So, what most people think of it is correct, but it's only one aspect of things. So, overload progression really just means challenging your muscles in a new way to cause adaptation, right? Or stimulus for growth. So, most people, when they think of overload progression, they're going to think about weights, and particularly an example of like using a 5 pound or a 2.5 pound plate that you can add to the barbell for your exercise, right? And that's a super easy way to overload and progress. And that's why a lot of people think about it. Now, the problem is GOATA doesn't really use a barbell, right? We do use weight plates, but I guess you could hold an extra 5 pound plate, but that's not really realistic either. But I just want to make it clear that weights are not the only way to overload an exercise. There's way more things that you can do out there than what most people kind of think of, right? Because we all think of weights. I do it too. I get it. I know why people ask this question all the time. So let me open up this marker here. Let's just get right into it. Holy smokes. I really put this cap on. Hang on. I might have to take my mic. Dude. One-handed is not the move. All right, hang on. I was messing around with it earlier, and I guess I really put that thing on there. So let's make a list here. Okay. Now I'm still going to put on here, right? Weights. Hopefully I spelled that right. My goodness. That one's pretty obvious. Just talked about that. But let's talk about a few more. There's a lot out here. Okay. One is going to be volume. Okay. So how many sets of something that you do. The other is going to be reps. How many reps you do. Hopefully you guys can read this. Hope it's not too small. Time is another one, right? And, it's kind of the same thing, but it is worth mentioning, I guess, distance. If you're going to crawl or sled push for distance instead of time or something else, I'll put those two together. That's really it. There is one more. Because this is the main, there's 5 main ones. And everyone always thinks of rest or weights, and that's it. The other one's rest time. I'm just going to write rest. Okay, these are the main 5 principles or whatever you want to call them with overload progression. This is it. Weights, volume, which is basically sets. How many sets is what I'm using it for here. Reps, that one's pretty obvious. Time or distance, and rest. These are all variables that we can manipulate, right? I don't know if I want to give an example for each one. I feel like it's pretty self-explanatory. But for all of these, essentially, you could add more sets for an exercise or workout to progressively overload. You could add more reps, go for more time, do less rest, right? There's lots of ways to mix and match. Now, let's go even a little deeper per se, okay? So we've got our main 5. I might need to just erase these. I don't know. I know you guys can see it, but so there's a few other things we can do. There's supersets, very typical bodybuilder kind of thing. So you group exercises together and you just hit them back to back. Okay. So supersets is one way. Another one is, I'm going to call it priming. I think that's the actual term. But another word for it is like, I'll just write it, it's fine. Pre-fatiguing. Golly, it's hard to write that angle. Pre-fatiguing or priming. So, super easy example. Let's say squats. I usually hit squats at the beginning of my workout, and I go really heavy. They're heavy squats. Well, to make it challenging, more challenging, I should say, I'm going to do some more exercises. Instead of hitting squats the first thing I do in the gym, I'm going to do other exercises that hit those muscles before I do my squats. So I might do some lunges, and I'm throwing these like weightlifting type training exercise terms out there to hopefully make this more click and not use GOATA terms, because people watching this might think, what the frick am I talking about? So just like a barbell squat as the example, maybe do some lunges, some knee extensions or leg curls to pre-fatigue and prime those muscles. And then you go hit your heavy barbell back squat, right? And it's going to be way more challenging because you just did a bunch of other work before it that you normally don't do. So that's another thing that you can do. Now, all of these I do with my own training and with clients. It's pretty easy, I'm not going to lie. And we do use a barbell sometimes, right? And go to like a landmine press or squat. It's not a barbell, but a sled. Easily you throw weight plates on there. You can hold weight plates. I guess I can add one more here. Totally just thought about it. I love this one too. A weighted vest. Now, I think there's weighted vests that actually can go up to 100 pounds. I could be wrong. I don't know. This is another great way. And I actually love weighted vests because you can still use all this other stuff. So it's just a double bonus, in my opinion. And I've got one. I use it. I love it. That's a good investment right there. So there you go. It's pretty self-explanatory, in my opinion. I know, kind of takes a little bit to think about it if you're trying to apply it to GOATA. You can do it yourself, or you can get a coach, obviously, that gives you your program and tells you what to do. That's what I'm here for. But I'm giving you guys the basic outline here of how you can think about it, things that you can manipulate to overload and progress throughout GOATA. So if you got any questions, leave them down in the comments. Like this video. If this was helpful, subscribe. You guys are awesome. I love you all. I'll see you guys on the next one.